Hi everyone and welcome. This evening, continuing this series of talks on esoteric healing, and I'm going to focus on sound healing, and it's a huge subject. So today's really an introduction. I'll cover quite broadly, but as much as I can. And I am doing a talk later in the month that will be a more detailed talk that I'll also record. So there'll be that you can always follow on from this one if you want more information, if you want to look at this deeper. So I'm going to use slides for this talk because it will help to give us a focus. So I'm going to start really big picture. And to fully understand sound healing, we need to change our worldview. And you're thinking, that's awfully big. Why do I have to change my worldview? The reason is because our worldview as a collective, humanity, determines our views on health, healing, and our body, and where energy and sound and healing and how that all fits together. And we're at a time now where we're at a real paradigm shift. The last big paradigm shift was when science really broke away from religion. And what we're having now is a big paradigm shift in terms of our worldview of the cosmos, of how the universe is put together and how it all works. And there's a real sort of diverse opinions and views in the scientific community, those that are holding more a traditional view and those that are moving toward this new view. And the beauty for those of us who seek knowledge from the ancient wisdom teachings is that science and the ancient wisdom teachings, especially the Vedic teachings, are starting to really come together and talk the same language, even if they use slightly different words. So this is why I just want to quickly talk about this paradigm shift, because if I don't, it can be confusing. Whereas if I give you this big umbrella, I think it can help. So our current worldview in science, and remember, this worldview affects everything. It affects our beliefs and values. So it affects our social structure, our economic values. It affects our attitude to our planet. It affects our healing. It affects our medicine. It affects our monetary system. It pervades through all aspects of human living. So the current worldview that is being more and more challenged is that the universe is random. It came about in a random way. There's no underlying organizing framework, and that entropy or breaking down into disorder is the dominant energy, the dominant direction, and that it's not a living universe. It's like a machine where you can go in and really study a different part of it, take it apart and understand how it works without regard for how that part interrelates with all the other parts. So objects are separated by empty space, and we've had a lot of physics to explain what's in that empty space in terms of black holes and dark matter and dark energy, and that the universe is inherently disconnected. These entities are separate, but they're held together by gravitational forces. So the emerging worldview, and this current worldview has really helped us to advance in terms of technology, because we've really got to the nitty-gritty of understanding a lot of the mechanics, and there are mechanistic sort of underlying organizations going on in many aspects of life. So we have become quite technologically advanced, but I would say, my opinion shared by many, is that our spiritual development is behind our technological development, and it's time now to lift our game and really look at the way our worldview is affecting the way we live. Because in this disconnected worldview, we don't have to think about our actions affecting others. We don't believe in a sort of an all-encompassing energy. There's a view that things are scarce and that there's competition for resources, and that we use war and violence to dominate. This is all inherent in this mechanistic, disconnected view. So the emerging worldview, that the nature of reality offers, and this worldview, many scientists are saying, offers a practical perspective toward problem solving many of our major issues that we have at the moment. And it's saying that abundance is at the foundation of the universe. It's oriented towards order and organization. It's wholly interconnected and cooperative. It's filled with a fundamental network that permeates all matter and energy to create a natural feedback loop of interconnected self-awareness at all scales. So an intelligent, living universe. So you can see that sound healing from this worldview, if we change to that new paradigm, we're starting to see emerging theories in science. For example, there's a new theory come out that the universe is electric, rather than held together so much by gravitational forces, that everything is electricity and held into this interconnecting web, and that the sun is not separate and stars are not separate from us. And there's this interconnectedness and this electricity or energy, electric energy, that pervades the whole universe. So if we look at the idea of sound as a creative force to begin with, many religious views and creation stories have this idea that God created the world out of nothing from sound. So in the Vedic philosophy, for example, instead of sort of science would say we had a big bang expansion, and in Vedic philosophy, they would say that it was a big Om, which arises from consciousness, and that this Om didn't just happen, but is ongoing. And that if this Om that pervades and feeds the universe were to stop, the universe would disappear. So it's constantly unfolding as our experience of the universe, and it is the creative sound. So in the Gospel of John, when it says, in the beginning was the Word, in a Vedic philosophy, that word would be the Om, the sound of creation. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And so the idea is that pure consciousness, if you like, God, spirit, however you frame that, is silent. But if you imagine a field of pure consciousness, empty, but filled with the potential for anything, but for consciousness to experience itself, it's got to have contrast, it's got to compare, there's got to be friction and duality for it to know itself. And that friction, that sound created, is the Om. So if you like, the initial vibration of the Om emerges from the unmanifest and diversifies into all the different vibrations of the manifest universe. So the Om would be in all sound, all mantras, all vibrations of the universe. And if you go deep into meditation, it is possible to go so deep that you can sense the vibration at what I would call the sound of silence, or the sound of the Om, or it's been called God humming. And it's the place from where all sound emerges and to which all sound returns. And that is a profound experience if you can touch or hear that sound. So if we take the premise both from our ancient wisdom teachings that teach us that all is one and that everything is interconnected, and that energy is what connects us. And from this new scientific paradigm that's emerging, everything in the universe is energy, but that energy is just vibrating at different frequencies. So you could say that when something is solid, feels solid, it's just vibrating at a lower frequency. But we know we are mostly space, we are energy. And when things are vibrating at a higher frequency, we're moving up into the realm of spirit. So all is energy in a continuum of vibrations. So sound has a vibrational frequency range that affects us through our energy body or our etheric body and our chakras. And through the chakras, it affects our nervous system. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some cellular biology and how they know that sound affects individual cells. So ultimately, that sound vibration affects our physical, our emotional, our mental, and our spiritual health and development. So this is why I wanted to start with such a big picture, because sound is so all-encompassing. So we would see dis-ease from this point of view is your body out of tune. And through sound healing, we are simply retuning you back to an original frequency that was an optimal, perfect health frequency for your body or that particular part of your body. So we know that all cells generate an electrical current. And I'm not going to go into your physics here. I want to keep this simple. I want to keep it conceptual. And these electrical currents in turn generate magnetic fields in the surrounding space. So we could say that we are a culmination of biomagnetic or electromagnetic fields. And we, if you like, are electromagnetic beings bathed in an electromagnetic connected reality. And this is a way of trying to understand this all-pervading energy. What is in the space between planets? What's in the space within us? What is in that space? How do we explain the universe in a connected way? So science is now suggesting that 99.9% of our universe is made up of something they call plasma. And this plasma is, they're talking about it, they talk about the fundamental states of matter being solid, liquid, and gas. And they're talking about plasma being the fourth state of matter. And plasma is like a gas that is able to conduct electrical currents. And it seems to have lifelike qualities. So there's some correlation here with the idea of prana, which is an energy force. It's an electrical force, and it has life force energy, lifelike qualities. So this plasma is the same plasma that you find in the sun. It's the plasma we see in the aurora and the northern lights. It's the plasma that we see in lightning bolts. It's the plasma in your plasma TV. It's the substance in your neon lights. And they're suggesting that our human energy field, this is the scientific point of view, is bioplasma. And in this bioplasma, when there's a balance of both negative and positive particles in this field, we are in good health. So this comes, we're in harmony. And energy, but when energy becomes stuck in this bioplasma field, as a result of either physical trauma or emotional trauma, or we're mentally stuck, that is when we can get an imbalance in the negative and positive particles. And this very much mirrors the ancient wisdom teachings on the etheric body. When we think of the etheric body and we talk about the chakras being, spinning at an ideal frequency, we talk about, we can sense when we go into places where there are a lot of negative ions, it really boosts our etheric body. Places like the sea, or especially where the water and the land meet at the sea, when we go into natural spaces, it really enhances our etheric body. So you can see that the two, they're using slightly different words, but the concepts are beautifully in congruence, which is exciting. So most people think of sound as transmitted in longitudinal waves like this, because that's how we depict it when we draw a two-dimensional drawing. But actually sound goes out in concentric bubbles or waves from the source out in circles, very much like an electromagnetic field. So for example, the electromagnetic field that comes from your heart chakra goes out in a sort of a Taussian shape around your body. And this is very like sound waves moving from their source. And what they find is that sound travels much faster, about 4 times faster in water than it does through air. So I think it's about 343 meters per second through air, but 4 times faster in your body. So the idea is that sound travels through the water or the fluid in your body. And given that we are 70% water and our planet is 70% water, the sound vibration, so if you think of that Om as a constant, beautiful, creative sound that's just keeping the whole universe going, our planet is resonating, all the water on our planet is resonating with that. And the sound is traveling through the planet in that way, like it travels through our body. So things like mantras that we chant, things like the tone of our voice, things like humming, singing, and laughing, all reverberate through all the fluid and all the structures in our body. And maybe this is why laughing is such a positive medicine, for example, why singing is so good for us, why in yoga we do exercises with the breath that involve humming into different chakras because of that resonance and the frequency of the sound. So the Japanese scientist Emoto that did all the beautiful work with water and freezing water crystals and seeing beautiful geometric shapes when love energy was sent to the water, and quite dysfunctional shapes when hate messages were sent to the water. Also did some work. There's a beautiful book I have that has a CD of some of the most well-known classical pieces of music. And he has frozen the water that has been exposed to this music, and in the book you see the beautiful crystals of these classical pieces of music, that's showing you that the effect of sound that is very coherent, that's been put together in a very beautiful way, and its effect on those water molecules. So when we sound a tuning fork, and I've got one here. So sounding this tuning fork, I don't know if you can hear that. What it does, it creates a holographic sound field. And that sound field is producing complex data structures of pure frequencies. And they strike the biofield or the etheric body of the person. Or it can be held over certain chakras. And they awaken the cellular memories in various tissues. And these cellular memories are like the memory of the frequency that was the optimum or pure frequency for that tissue for optimum health. And it's because of something called harmonic resonance that the body will retune to the frequency of that tuning fork. So harmonic resonance is brings the body back into balance or back into homeostasis. So what harmonic resonance is when a wave frequency attunes to the frequency of a vibration in contact with it. And we know examples of this. Some examples are if you have two guitars in a room and you pluck one of the strings of one, the same string will resonate on the guitar across the other side of the room, because there's a harmonic resonance between them. It's the reason clocks in a room will come into the same pattern, the same ticking pattern. And if they've got a pendulum, that will come into resonance. Apparently, when they measure the heart rate of people in an auditorium listening to music, they will all attune or entrain into the same harmonic resonance. So this is this kind of coming together of frequencies. So every organ, every system in your body resonates at a particular frequency and has its own optimum frequency. So these are like the notes in the symphony. And when everything's in tune, we're in a state we call coherence. When the parts are out of tune, there's incoherence. Now, coherent frequencies are ordered, they are consistent, clear, and in phase, which means that the sound waves are together in phase. Now, this is interesting because coherence, remember we said that in the universe, there's this natural order and consistency and coherence. And if we look at things like sacred geometry, or we start to look at the mathematics of the way the universe is put together, and we look at some of the ratios, and we look at the golden mean, and we look at these patterns of resonance that resonate through the entire universe, we find order and consistency. And so the idea is that if your energy field is giving your physical body a message, a vibrational frequency that is ordered and consistent and clear, that gives clear health. That gives the body and the organs and the structures a very clear message. And this in ancient wisdom teachings, we say that the etheric body vitalizes the physical body. So if that vitalizing life force energy signal is ordered and consistent and clear, we're going to get a response that's much better physical health. So if our body is a symphony, then the conductor is the heart. Okay, so if each of the tissues and all the chakras have different frequencies and different notes, if you think of your body in terms of sound, your heart is the conductor. Your heart is the major resonance that the rest of your body is in training to. So whatever frequency your heart, that electromagnetic field that's around your heart, whatever frequency that is giving out, the other cells in your body will come into harmonic resonance or come into phase, come into entrainment with. And what we find is when we are feeling heart qualities like love, like appreciation, like gratitude, that electromagnetic field is very coherent, very clear, and our body cells, I think of them, it's like they dance and they all dance together. They really like the music of the heart, and this music that our heart is giving out in this field is really conducive to health. It gets right down to the DNA in the cells and can alter and change the expression of the DNA in the cells. So if we are resonating with a very negative emotions or feelings, the signal is very incoherent, and it makes it very hard for the body to stay in harmony, to stay in homeostasis, and it causes dis-ease in the body. So choosing, to connect with the resonance, the coherence of our heart, and bring, especially because our heart has an electromagnetic field, our brain has an electromagnetic field coming from it. And when we bring these two together, this is very powerful in terms of healing. And this is what we're doing more and more as we realize the link between the mind and the body in healing and health. So pure acoustic tones, Tibetan or crystal singing bowls, they resonate with a pure frequency or a pure note that can bring us back into coherence. And this is their power in healing. So electromagnetic radiation, that was the other thing I was going to say. We are affected by all of the sound frequencies around us all of the time. Okay. And this is why you will know that certain sound frequencies really aggravate your whole system. Two different sound sources in the room that are at odds with each other, really, it jangles your nervous system. Some music, if you can just listen purely, it will transport you and give deep feelings of relaxation and peace. But there is electromagnetic radiation now given off from electrical devices in our homes, in our workplaces. And I was reading that in the last 30 years, it's 1 million times what it used to be. And this electromagnetic radiation is bombarding our etheric body, our own electromagnetic fields, and is causing incoherence in that field and in the signals to the physical body, and is responsible for many health problems. And if it affects us enough, it will affect the DNA of the cells. And this is where we get the rise of cancers in people who are exposed to high levels of this electromagnetic radiation. So this is one of the major questions about the rolling out of 5G, for example, because there are numerous studies that show it's really not good for our energy field and for our health ultimately. And this is a lot of scientists and medical doctors throughout the world are very against it for this reason. So as we start to understand this new paradigm and the way we look at the universe, we're not separated, we're all connected, and we're connected in this electromagnetic way. Things like this, we will start to have to take notice of in terms of our health. There are things you can do, and there are crystals, there are substances, there's things you can do to minimize the negative the negative effects. So in terms of this electromagnetic radiation, or if you like, the vibrational frequency, each of the chakras has its own note, has its own vibrational frequency, and therefore color, because really color and sound are both vibrations. They just depends which organ is picking them up. Okay, so sound always has a color and color always has a sound. It just depends which sense organ you are taking in that information through. So these are, in the source where I got this, they divided the heart into 3 notes. I'm not sure why that is. I would probably just go with the pure D. And the colors here also with the green. So this is where we get our rainbow colors of the chakras. These are the frequencies if you are using tuning forks over the chakras to rebalance them. And these are the notes if you were singing. Okay, so things like singing the do, re, mi, singing the scales, this sort of thing has a very powerful effect on your body to bring it into coherence. and to improve your health. Maybe that's why when we come together in things like choirs and we start singing in harmony, why it makes us feel so good afterwards and why it's something that we love to do. So we are naturally wired to be sensitive to sound. It's one of the first senses that develops in the womb, and it's one of the last senses to go when we die. It's fundamentally important to us in our lives. A life without sound is lacks color. Okay, it's black and white. Our cells, this is from Bruce Lipton's Biology of Belief. They've found that each cell has little antennae like receptors on them that act like little tuning forks. And when vibrational frequencies come into the cell, it sets off a chain of reactions that open receptors and open calcium channels and affect the physiology of that cell. We use sound in healing. Increasingly, we use infrasonic sound already to break up kidney stones. We use ultrasound on soft tissue injuries, which helps bring more blood flow to the area and helps it to heal more quickly. We use ultrasound to diagnose and to scan, and we're starting to use it more and more for non-invasive surgery for heating up and breaking up tumors and growths. We use music therapy increasingly to treat things like PTSD, where the person's, if you like, those traumas are stuck in their energy field, and the music therapy or the sound helps to shift that trauma so the person can heal and come back into harmony. It's used in Alzheimer's and dementia. There's a lot of music therapy seems to work really well with people on the autistic spectrum, suggesting that they're more tuned in to this vibrational frequency than other people. It's more their way of experiencing the world. It's used in healing stroke victims and increasingly in healing prisoners and bringing them back into a resonance. So we're starting to use music to promote recovery post-surgery and definitely for end-of-life care. In the future, it's written in Alice Bailey's books that we will be given specific mantras and sounds to aid the transition in death. And it will be a celebration where a whole group of people gather with that soul and recite these mantras and help that transition. Music is found to help manage pain, definitely in anxiety and stress and other emotional issues. And that's because we entrain emotionally to the vibrational frequency of music. And, you know, there's music that can make you uplifted. There's music that can make you sad. There's music that can make you angry. It really hits us on a vibrational level in terms of especially our emotional body. Many tonal frequencies are used in health and healing. The 432 hertz is said to be the frequency of the Aum. It's used for deep healing of the mind and the body and brings feelings of peace and can release emotional blockages. It's said to be the sound inherent in nature. And maybe that's why when we're feeling stressed and overloaded and we're in an environment where everything is discoherent, it's, you know, jaggering sound, it's like the static. When we want to tune in, we go and be peaceful in nature, and we somehow maybe tune into this 432 hertz frequency. It also promotes delta brainwave state, inducing deep sleep. There's another one called 528, and this one I've used with people because it works on a physical cellular level. So this is 528. It's said to be the miracle tone, or the frequency of love. And if you think of love pervading and being the force that connects our universe from an esoteric point of view, this frequency boosts your energy, reduces stress and anxiety, and can cause transformation and repair of DNA. So it works on a physical level. It can boost your immune system. And for example, you can go on YouTube, you can buy CDs where you just tune in to music at these frequencies. It can be playing in the background. You can have frequencies that enhance your concentration. And what they do is, because you entrain to that frequency, and many of these frequencies bring you into different brainwave states. So especially the electromagnetic field, or the frequency, the brainwave frequencies. So when sometimes they'll have what they call binaural beats, where two sounds slightly apart bring you to a central point, and these two discordant beats will harmonize, and there'll be a ding in the music, and this helps to bring you into resonance. And these brainwave states, if, for example, when you're asleep, the delta waves, very low frequencies, deep renewal. This is when you're in your deep REM sleep. Theta waves we use increasingly. This is when in a yoga class, I take you into a deep relaxation, and you're in what we would call the relaxation response in your physical body. You're down in theta brainwave states. It's the state you're in just as you're falling asleep, just that moment between consciousness and unconsciousness. And you can choose to stay in it for longer, because it's a very healing and restoring state, especially for your brain. It's also associated with increasing your insight, your awareness, and your intuition. Alpha waves, 8 to 12 hertz, are dominant during quietly flowing thoughts, some meditative or very creative states, in a right-brained sort of state, when you're feeling very relaxed but calm but alert and very positive. And then your beta waves, a normal waking state is the lower beta waves. But as you get up in the beta waves, you go from sort of alert, attentive, engaged in problem solving, judgments, decision-making, focused mental activity. But as you get into the higher beta waves, this is where you're getting stressed, nervous, irritable, anger, and you tend to start getting brain fog and loss of concentration and memory. You can get into a gamma wave state, very high. This is more the intense concentration and focus you would get deep in meditation. They found some monks can spend considerable time in a gamma wave brain state. So things like chanting, where you're resonating, they've found is a very positive effect on health, creating heightened states of awareness. Mantras are often Sanskrit, sacred words used to enhance spiritual growth and open your conscious awareness. In meditation, as I mentioned, you can hear the sound of the Om. So sound is seen as a creative bridge between the material world of lower vibrations and the higher vibrations of the spiritual. So it's acting like that antakarana, that bridge. And bringing, when we talk about spiritualizing matter, bringing those higher frequencies down into matter, sound is a beautiful bridge for doing that. In many ancient civilizations, and suggested in Atlantis and Egypt, they use sound to move physical objects by understanding that matter is energy and working with the energy. And it's suggested that we will be able to reactivate this ability in the future. When we impose a rhythm in our life, we call it discipline. any kind of ritual brings in a regular rhythm. And the rhythm that increasingly, as we follow a spiritual path, dominates our life is that the personality becomes entrained to the rhythm or the frequency of the soul. And this is where we talk about lifting our vibrations. So your personality vehicle, your whole physical, etheric, emotional and mental body that becomes entrained to those higher frequencies of the soul or the higher self. And just a little bit of, when we work in group meditation, where we work in ritual, we actually, when we do the exercise of coming together in our mind, we're creating a harmonic resonance or a coherence. And that's through our heart energy, through our electromagnetic fields. And we have to entrain with each other in common intention for that group work to be effective. And in the age of Aquarius, we will increasingly work in this way as we come to understand it. So music and sound are the language of the universe. They are a universal language. They express the harmony of the universe. There's nothing like music to connect people, to uplift, to inspire. It cuts across barriers. We need to also realize the power of our voice, the word, and its vibrational frequency, because things like truth and integrity resonate with a higher frequency than other untruths or malicious, manipulative words. And we can sense this. Even if the words sound true, we can sense whether the energy behind them is the vibration of truth, because we vibrate with truth. So we can feel if they're in harmony. And this is where sometimes we pick up vibes from people, or they sound like the truth, but it doesn't feel like the truth. And this is where we are working with these frequencies and picking them up. Words are creative. And we will come to truly understand the power of words to create. In the future, it's suggested that we will create from thought, from words, and be given increasingly mantras to do so. So what I would say in finishing what is quite a long talk is the importance, therefore, in this universal symphony that is life. Each and every one of you is needed. Your soul note is needed to create the symphony that is ever increasing development and unfolding of that Om, of that consciousness. So when you lift up into the higher aspects of yourself, when you resonate with the frequency and vibration of your higher self, you are really joining in an amazing symphony. And, you know, depending on your beliefs, you could think of God as the conductor. Okay, so you're joining the choir. So I would say, lift up. Be aware of the power of your voice. Be aware of the power of lifting your vibration and your frequency in this way. So there's a lot there, a lot for you to think about. And I want now to move into the group meditation. And if you've got any comments and questions, which I'm sure you will have, we'll come to those after the meditation. Oh, there you go. The Right, so to come into harmonic resonance with each other, this is where words like the affirmation of love is actually a mantram. So it's like a longer mantra. So you think of probably the most universal mantra we know of is the Gayatri mantra. This affirmation of love and the great invocation in turn our powerful use of words, but not just the words, but the frequency and resonance behind those words. This mantra opens your heart. It brings us all into harmonic resonance and entrainment with each other, so that when we do this group meditation, it is far more powerful in its effect. It resonates out. And remember, once uttered, a sound frequency continues forever. Okay, so the Om is forever creative. So this affirmation, every time we utter this affirmation, we send it out with its beautiful power to transform. So from a place of your heart, repeat this with me. In the center of all love, I stand. From that center, I, the soul, will outward move. From that center, I, the one who serves, will work. May the love of the divine self be shed abroad in my heart, through my group, and throughout the world. And now I'll just take you into the group meditation. So to begin with, I want you to feel like you're grounding your energy and connecting with the earth. So just have the intention that you're sending a connection down through your feet, or down from the base of your spine and deep into the earth under the building in which you are. And now I want to come into this present moment. And we do that by focusing on our physical body. So just be aware of your body sitting in the chair. Be aware of the clothes on your skin. Turn your awareness to your sense of hearing and listen with your whole body. Let the sounds just come in, the sounds of this moment. And now take that awareness to your breath. With a gentle focus, just watching the breath as it comes into your body. Watching the breath as it leaves. And just allowing that breath cycle to get a little deeper each time. So imagine you are opening a channel, especially in the space around your heart, so between your sternum and your spine. And taking the breath right down till it's comfortable to breathe from your belly. Slowly, deeply. Body is relaxed. Mind is gently focused on the breath. Just keep a gentle focus on the breath, allowing it to take you inward. To connect to a peaceful place within you. So as thoughts arise in your mind, just let them pass through your mind, coming back to the breath. And now take your awareness to the center of your chest. And imagine that your heart center is opening. And we open the heart by allowing feelings of love and gratitude to fill our being. Know that through your heart you connect to the highest aspect of you. And allow your heart to fill with love. Now I want you to imagine that you are drawing down light through the crown of your head from your highest self. And this light can be violet, purple, white, or gold. And you're drawing it down through all the major energy centers or chakras in your body in a vertical alignment with your spine. Bringing them all into a beautiful harmony. So each is vibrating at its optimal, perfect frequency. Your mind and your heart come into coherence. And your vibrational energy is like a beautiful symphony. Now, as this light comes down through the crown of your head, imagine the heart is acting as a vessel to distribute this light, this frequency throughout your physical body. So bringing all cells into alignment, into coherence. So that they are all in tune. And now allow this light to flow out into your etheric body or the energy field that surrounds your physical body. Now allow this light, this lighted love, the frequency of lighted love to flow out from your energy body to fill your whole home. Connecting with all living beings in your home. Now continue to radiate this energy out from your heart and let it radiate out to fill your whole street, your neighborhood, your community. Now continue to let it flow out to fill the town or the city in which you live. bringing all beings into a beautiful coherence. Now imagine that your energy is connecting with the energy of all of those people who are joining us in this group meditation, either live or via the recording. And together we come into a beautiful harmonic resonance, and we fill this whole nation with that high vibrational frequency. The frequency of love, of lighted, inspirational love, wise, understanding love. And now together let this energy flow out to fill this part of the world. Continue to let it flow out till it fills the whole of the northern hemisphere of our planet. And also the southern hemisphere. So that we come into harmonic resonance with all groups who are working in this way. So you can see our planet with people everywhere working in groups, consciously in meditation, changing the vibration of the energy that surrounds our planet. So imagine you can see our beautiful planet as if from space. You can see this light surrounding her. And you see it flowing down into the physical planet, bringing her back into peace and harmony, restoring the balance in nature, ensuring the air and the water are pure and clear, that she has an ozone layer that is healthy, flowing down into the animal and the plant kingdom so that they come back into balance and can flourish, resonating with the power of the mineral kingdom. And see and feel this frequency, bringing all people into harmony, so that they lift up to sound the note of their soul. And we can lift and transform human consciousness, establishing right relations on our planet, within each person, between people, within families, communities, nations, between nations, and within the whole human family. Healing and transforming human consciousness, bringing peace and harmony to all, bringing our whole world back into tune. And now I invite you to come together to sound the great invocation, appreciating the power of these words and the vibrational frequencies that arise from these words. And especially when we repeat this together. So repeat it from your heart, from the point of light within the mind of God. Let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out. May it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. And just rest for a few moments longer. And now slowly draw your energy back into your own energy field. And just take your time coming back into your physical body, because we have worked quite deeply with energies today. Just take a nice deep breath in and just opening your eyes when you're ready. So the sound I played at the end was just a singing bowl that I have that's attuned to the heart note. It's a beautiful feeling when you are immersed in sound. And increasingly people are involved in sound healing sessions, sometimes using big gongs, using healing bowls, using all sorts of different instruments to create a bath of sound. Okay, Now I want to open it up to questions, comments. Even if you just tell me how you noticed I changed the meditation slightly today to bring in some of the ideas so that you understand from a vibrational frequency idea what we're doing in group meditation. And this is very much coming in with the energy of Aquarius, and especially the 7th ray. And the 7th ray is the ray of ceremonial order that creates magic. Okay, so the 7th ray is very involved with sound healing in this way, that order, that coherence creates this beautiful harmony and health in all of our bodies, not just our physical body. Okay, have we got any questions or comments? Or you all sort of zoned out? Michael, go for it.
First off, Teresa, that was brilliant.
Thank you.
I think that was your best talk. That's the best talk you've done. That was absolutely cram jam full of brilliant information. So I made a few notes along the way.
Good.
First thing is, to help protect people from EM radiation, I would recommend they turn the router off at night.
Okay.
That would help. The second thing is, the Earth has got its own resonance, called the Schumann resonance, at 7.8 hertz.
Yeah.
And I notice it kind of is slap bang in the middle of one of your slides. And I think when we're talking about kind of being nourished by the Earth, it's worth pointing out that you're actually resonating with the Earth itself. And that has to be a good thing.
It's interesting because the Schumann resonance is what they measure when people are deep in meditation. It seems that the brain goes into that frequency in alignment with the vibration of the Earth. Yeah.
Yes. And my third point was about sound being the most effective kind of form of creation, and it ties into your quote, where the Kabbalah is kind of in its highest form, is probably what that quote is about, where kind of things are brought into existence using the spoken word. Yeah. So they're just my notes, but I think that was excellent, Teresa. Thank you. That was a real gift.
Well, thank you, because you've just added. So that's what I want. Yeah. Vanessa, yes. If you unmute, yeah.
I can unmute. Well, I thought it was absolutely tremendous, Teresa. It was just so full of information, but also resonating in lots of different ways. And it brought for me lots of pieces of the jigsaw into a bit more of a whole. So it was really powerful. So thank you so much for that. It was brilliant. Well done.
That's okay. Well, that's the way I see this kind of world view. You know, if we're each creating our own, trying to make sense of the world and understand it, and I see very much it as a jigsaw, and every time I get a little piece and then a bit goes together and connects up with another piece.
Yeah.
It really helps, I find, when we understand, because we bring that understanding, it strengthens and deepens something deep within us when we understand.
And it's very powerful then, isn't it? The tuning forks and using them with the chakras has just opened up for me another possibility that I can use with clients. I just think that's wonderful, actually. Yes.
Well, something to bring your awareness. This book here, which some of this information came from, this lady, Eileen McCusick, is developed a method where she's basically mapped the human biofield, and it's almost like rings of a tree. So the very most outer rings are your, childhood coming in.
Yeah.
She will have a client and she uses tuning forks right out about 5 feet away from the person, 3 foot above the head and feet. And she will sweep across, and when the tuning fork comes into a dissonance, an incoherent vibration, she knows she's hit an emotional or trauma blocked in the energy, and she has different ways to shift that for the person. And she's had amazing effects, amazing healings on emotional, mental, physical levels, working with people. And she's in this book, she maps, I can't remember exactly, but childhood experiences to do with this will be this far on the left, and she's actually mapped the body, and using different tuning forks, she's developed this method to bring the body back into coherence, but also using the tuning forks to find
the problem.
Find the problem.
I can see that would be excellent, really. Tell me the name of the book again, please.
It's called Tuning the Human Biofield, by Eileen McCusack, and I will put it in the email and put it in the description of the YouTube.
I have heard of her. I've read an article that she's done, actually. Yes.
It's very good. And she also mentions, we do have to be aware that when we're working in energy and vibrations in this way, we have to look after our own vibrations, because we are all connected. If we really hit some really dissonant energy in another person, it can throw our energy. So the healer in this way, and this goes back to what I talked about last week, the healer working with energy in this way has to have a couple of things going on. They have to be really from pure heart. So the highest good of this person, whatever that is.
Absolutely.
No ego, personality involvement at all. And the other thing is to be aware that you have to look after your own energy. So after working with healing in this way, you probably will need to go and cleanse, go out in nature, ground your energy, maybe have a shower. But a method that I think, I can't remember if I told you last week, I told someone last week, that you can keep your own energy field protected, is to imagine light coming down through the crown, and then it's suggested from the solar plexus that
let it come out
into your energy field. Now, I've worked with this, and I would say that, and this is a Teresa observation, not based on anything. For most people, I think working from the solar plexus, but increasingly I'm finding that I bring it down to my heart and send it out. So it probably depends where you're centered of those two, or maybe both. So you do, when you are working in healing, it's really important to be grounded.
Absolutely. To
the Earth's energy, to that resonance. But it's a whole new field. And I know Sally is doing a course in training to be a sound healer, tuning forks in this way. And it's the future.
Yes, it is.
In the books, it's written about quite clearly that eventually we won't use physical surgery. We will use, already I'm talking next week about light healing, and I'll be talking about, using lasers and using sound, using sonic, using the different vibrations to heal the physical body. So we don't need to physically intrude in the physical body. We will do more psychic healing, psychic surgery in the future as we come to. And also the measure of any civilization is how they treat death and the death process and the burial rituals. So as a civilization develops, their attitude to death and transition changes, and eventually your death will be like we celebrate birth, we will celebrate the transition of death. And it will be more like a party.
Yeah.
There'll be music and mantras and celebration and people coming together to aid that soul. The way we do it at the moment doesn't help souls transition at all. It really throws the soul, especially the emotional astral body. And when people are very emotionally attached, it stops the progress of that soul onward. And sound and mantras will be given out, it is written, when we reach the stage that we are ready to use those. So we need to keep evolving, especially our relationship to death and transition. And just talking about it is less taboo than it used to be, but still an uncomfortable
it is
for most people.
Yes.
But sound is a way, and I know this in the Maori culture in New Zealand, it's beautiful to go to a Maori funeral, what they call a tangi. And a tangi goes on, it can go on for 5 days. It goes on as long as is required. Release all of the emotional energy and all of the love, and to let that soul go and set it free. And there's a lot of sound and almost wailing and sound, people coming together, and it's very natural, but quite different to the way that we release soul in the West. And we will, you know, we'll develop and evolve in this process. And it won't be, you know, because if we were to take away the fear of death, if your death day was celebrated like your birthday.
Yes, exactly. It'd be brilliant.
How we would live in between.
Yes, yeah.
Because most of our fears are ultimately a fear of being no longer.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Brilliant.
We've got a potential sound healer in the making there, you and Ellie together.
Really good.
Any other questions or comments? Vinian, yes, please. If you unmute.
Thank you. First of all, excellent, Teresa, very well done. To pick up on that thing that you were just saying about mantras and whatnot and death, one of the people I really like on this modern consciousness thing is a guy called William Buhlman. And he's written a book, and there's CDs and whatnot that go with it, called Higher Self Now. And in that book, he draws the concept. He said, if somebody is dying in the Himalayas, in the Tibetan culture, what do? They get the priests to all come. They have him as comfortable as they can physically. Some of the priests are doctors. They get him as comfortable as they can. And then they chant mantras, if necessary, for 49 days. And it's all a very soft transitional process. And their understanding of what happens is formally recited out of the Book of the In-Between, also translated as the Tibetan Book of the Dead.
Yes.
And that's the way they do it, and they've done it for over 1,000 years.
Yes.
And they still do it.
The Tibetan, I'm trying to think of, in fact, I can see it on my bookshelf. There's a modern story written for people in the West who would find the Tibetan Book of the Dead too hard to read. And it's a novel. Oh, I can't remember what it's called. I'll look it up.
Yeah, but there are several versions of it. But then he contrasts that with what happens here in the West. You get taken to an ICU, you get wired into a dozen things, you get pumped full of poisonous drugs.
Yeah.
And the medical people think they failed when you die.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, what a contrast is what he's saying. And he knows what he'd rather, He'd rather do, you know.
Well, eventually we will choose.
Yeah.
Of
But
death.
what I'm saying is, I'm not saying Alice Bailey is wrong,
Mm.
but it's happening, and it has happened for quite a while.
Well, remember, the Bailey books were written just after the war.
Yeah, I know, and a lot of the things that we know now weren't as well known back then. Of course, I understand that.
And change is, you know, change is a bit exponential.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. But I'm just saying I like that contrast, the way he draws it in that book. The other thing I wanted to comment on is the business about the beginning of John's Gospel. In the beginning was the Word, etc. Because the Greek, if my memory serves me correctly, is an archon kai logos kai theos, which is of course like a mantra. But I was talking to a friend of mine who is deeply esoteric and has studied these things for years, who is Greek but fluent in English. I met him at a Masonic meeting in London years and years ago, and we're still chatting on Facebook and such like things. And I said to him, how would you translate the word logos? How's about we translated it as vibration?
Oh, yeah.
And he said, absolutely.
Yes, yes.
Because the problem, it doesn't mean it isn't word, because you could translate it as utterance.
Yes.
Which is fine. But the problem we've got is in our culture, particularly the Protestant culture, the word of God is a little blue book that you carry around in your black pocket. And it doesn't mean that at all. I mean, obviously the words are there and the book is there and you can use it when you want to. They've done that for hundreds of years. But it does actually, the Greek does translate as vibration.
Yes.
And as I said, the original Greek is quite mantric.
It's interesting that the Vedic tradition, prana, so life force energy, translates as the word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the idea, this is beautiful, I read, and it says, the sound waves from a luminous ocean of pure beingness, the restlessness or motion give rise to the ever-changing explicit reality born of the changeless implicit reality. How beautiful is that?
It sounds like something out of The Secret Doctrine, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think it is necessarily, but it's very similar. You've got that sort of level of vibrant understanding.
One of the most, I suppose, esoteric, well, one of the books that to me resonates on this level is The Voice of the Silence.
Yeah.
And you do find that increasingly you can read, I was explaining this to Ted the other day, and this is almost where some poetry and definitely lyric music and things come in, but you can sometimes read verse, and I find this with the Bhagavad Gita, and my logical brain, there's so many words in there that I don't know what they are, or translation is varied. I just read it on a higher level than the understanding at the logical mind or the lower mind, and it sings. It's lyrical. It's a song. I mean, it's called the Song Celestial, and it's like when you dance. If you try and dance and follow the rhythmic moves, it'll be mechanical until you stop trying to dance and you just dance.
Yeah.
It will flow. It comes from within you, and it's not, it comes from a higher aspect of you that's dancing. And in the words, there's a frequency or a vibration that's beyond, you don't need to understand the words. So someone could chant something to me or speak something beautiful with a resonance in a language I don't even know, but I would feel it here and I would feel the essence of it. I could probably say that was about, do you know what I mean? And so there's a frequency behind words. is powerful.
Very, very powerful. Mm.
Yeah. So it's starting to understand sound in quite a different way.
Right.
But the beauty of being
Isn't
around
like
at the moment
therefore
is
the manifestation of the intent.
Science and the more esoteric teachings, you know, they're almost got the same language. Science still doesn't really agree with subtle energy and chakras and things. They're still a bit, yeah, well, we can start to measure these, but we're not sure. But if you call something bioplasma or bioplasmic field or electromagnetic radiation, science, yeah, we're talking about the same thing, which is possible. And we just need that paradigm shift in the way that we live, so that we live in harmony, so that we resonate with the values of right relations, so that we can bring those higher frequencies down into matter. We'll get there. Right, any more comments or questions? A lot to think about. And like I say, I'm going to do this talk. I've actually got more detail. I'm going to do this talk for the Leeds Lodge. I think it's Sunday, the 29th of November at 2 o'clock. And that I'll record so that if you want, you could sort of, what we've done tonight, you could let that gel and sit in your awareness. And then in the month, watch that talk, and you might find it just brings some more depth of understanding in. Certainly that's how it works for me.
And me. Gradual.
Yeah, well, when you teach it, all I can say is it's a gift, because as I teach it, I'm listening to myself and understanding
more.
yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much. It's been a wonderful evening, a real blessing.
Thank you.
Lovely rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Okay.
Namaste.
Namaste.